Actually begun. We're waiting for the live stream to show.
This is one of the first times I've been on where I feel nervous.
Okay, stand by. And Roger, we're coming to you in 3, 2.
I'm Roger Wakefield, Lead AP, the Expert Plumber, coming to you on YouTube Live here from VidSummit 2019. And this is really unique because I got interested in social media by going to Social Media Marketing World about 1.5 years ago. Now, 1.5 years later, man, I'm joined by friends, and this is really neat because I ran into Joe at Social Media Marketing World 7 months ago, and ran into Bernie today, but we've been talking about what we do, and it's very interesting. So I really wanted to take this opportunity and say thanks to Cinemaker for letting me come on and do live from their set. This is amazing. But Joe, how are you?
I'm doing really well, Roger.
How can people find you on social media? Tell them who you are, what you do, and where you are on social media.
Sure, I'm Joe Everest, the fence expert. So my specialty is anything, everything as it has to do with fence. You can find me, Joe Everest, pretty much anywhere. LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube.
It's a good thing. Bernie, what about you? Who are you? What do you do? And where can people find you in social media?
Well, my name is Greg Bernie Burns. I'm on Facebook. I have Applebox Network on Facebook, and that is a media site for me. That's where I talk to my industry and push everything out. I also have Bernie's Grip and Lighting, which is my rental, and my space is I rent production gear to the film and television industry, so making production.
I thought you were fixing to say, in MySpace you can find me at. I was like, wait, Bernie,
hey, I
okay,
have
that
a
is
MySpace
old school,
site.
brother.
I have a MySpace.
So, you know.
Hasn't been there in a while, yeah.
So, Bernie, let me ask you this. Yeah. What are you doing at a social media event?
Well, you know, this is, Roger, this is the absolute, and I know we all know this, but this is the future. This is the marketing future. You know, it's different than what I normally do. In my industry, the production industry, we actually controlled the message for the last 50 years or so. In the last 5 years, this industry has really gelled online and social media. I have always been very interested in talking to my community, but I am not a Yellow Pages business. You know, I can't just find them in the general public. I have to narrow down. So I found that place in, in social media. I started talking to my community, and really we've all discovered together, I think, coming back, is how many problems that we have. So for me, it's been because of the narrow focus that I'm here. This is, and I'm understanding this only now, is that this is an entirely different space than production space, which has its place and this has its place.
Completely. Now, Joe, was Social Media Marketing World your first event for social media?
No, you know, so I was at Social Media Marketing World last year as well. It was my first year.
Okay.
And so this year was my returning year.
Okay. And this is your first time at VidSummit.
It is. It absolutely
it's
is.
a little bit different. It's a lot of bit different.
It's a lot of bit different. It's a lot of bit different.
What was your takeaway at your first event? Your biggest takeaway? What made you say, wow? And then what did you learn last year, and what are you doing now that's helping you there?
You know, it's been a pretty consistent message, and it all dovetails nicely into each other. Video is incredibly important. You know, video is the best way to talk to your customers, talk to the community at large in a way that they understand, that they naturally can relate with. That was my big takeaway the first year. And then this year, again, the message was you have to be doing video. You have to have a video focus.
Absolutely.
You know, static images, while they are nice, and they paint a picture, they don't communicate the message as well.
It's really funny. I was actually walked down here to go in. Michael Stelzner is fixing to talk with Shalene Johnson and a couple of other people. And I came down here for that because I tell you what, Michael Stelzner spoke the first time I went to Social Media Marketing World, and what he said blew my mind. He says literally, and this was 2018, he said by 2020, anything on social media that's not video is literally, it's not going to be seen. And then he said video is seen 12,000 times as much because all the algorithms share it and get it out there.
Sure.
What are you doing on social media to get your message out that's working?
Sure. Well, I mean, it's video. We post static images, really well done pictures, and there's a nice tag underneath them. But if I speak with that same image behind me in a live video or a recorded video, I can articulate that message so much better than any tagline I can put at the bottom.
Now, Bernie, what are you doing on social media video-wise, and I mean just social?
Well, on just social, and really that is it for me. I don't really have any other outlet than the social. I'm doing an hour-long show on Applebox Network where I talk to people in my industry. So I want to hear their stories, what they're doing now, how they got into the business is a very big one because it's a very isolated business. My place in the production world, it used to have a high wall around us, very hard to penetrate, very hard to get in. That went to like a floodplain. So now anybody can get in, just like here, anybody can come in. Yeah. And Roger, you ask about video and what the important thing is. Coming from that production background, this is something I've learned. Television is the best emotion manufacturing ever devised by man. Yeah. And the only thing, in my opinion, and it's scale, I mean, this works on a lot of different levels, is you must have an emotional content component to all, because that's the magic of what makes it work. It's not just information, it's how you feel about it is more important than the information you're actually getting.
Yes.
100%. When they see you or Joe, that's what sells it.
Yeah, and you say it, and that's so true because Maya Angelou, I was in a session yesterday. People will not remember what you say or what you did, but they'll always remember how you made them feel.
100%.
And that is one thing about social media and the opportunity that we have. I got into this literally wanting to make video to teach people in my area how to fix their own plumbing. Because it builds me as the brand authority. It lets them know, look, I care enough to teach you what I do because there's a lot you can do yourself. And to me, that is such a big deal. And I've had so many plumbers reach out to me and say, why do you do that? You're taking money out of our pockets. It's like, wait, I'm teaching somebody to save a few $100. What's wrong with that? In Texas, they're legally allowed to do it. But I've had so many people reach out to me and say, look, I could not afford somebody to come fix this.
Right.
And I'm on a budget or I'm disabled. And look at what you've done for me. And I mean, I was talking about this the other night at a meal, and those are the feelings that it's like, this is amazing.
The first time I saw you, and I ran into you probably about a month ago online, you know what I mean? So I said, hallelujah, because you don't know how many times that I have talked to people about doing video and marketing in their own space. I always use the example of the plumber. A plumber should do it. And when I saw you, it was like a hallelujah moment for me.
It's been so good because, Joe, you and I talked at, social media Social Media Marketing World 7 months ago.
Yeah.
And, one thing we talked about that you and I are both really good at, we don't just do video ads.
Right.
Hey, I'm running a special today. Call me. I'm a sales guy.
Yeah.
You give out great information.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, one, no one wants to hear a sales message. I don't want to, you don't want to, no one does.
Absolutely.
I always put myself in the consumer's shoes. If I need a roof,
right,
how am I going to feel about the message I hear? Am I going to want to interact with a brand that says, what can we do to get you in a roof today? What can I tell you to make you purchase this roof? Or would I rather a roof company say, here's all the information to make an educated decision, and while we prefer you do business with us, it's information you can use freely wherever. I'm going to trust that brand so much more than a competitor that's only running 10% off for the month of October. Absolutely.
One of my favorite sessions that I went to at Social Media Marketing World was Marcus Sheridan.
Yeah.
And Marcus Sheridan, if you have not seen him, is phenomenal at what he does. And he's all about video, but it's not video advertising. And one of my favorite videos, and you and I talked about this the other day, is, look, everybody out there watching this is not my customer.
Yeah.
And we may not be a good fit together, but if you watch my videos and you listen to what I say, I use the best materials. I use the best plumbers. Chances are I'm not the cheapest guy in town.
Sure.
And that's why when people call and they're like, hey, look, what's the price? Well, number one, if you want to start there, man, you're probably not my guy.
Sure.
And they're like, what do you mean? It's like, look, if all you're looking for is the cheapest price, I can give you the phone number to the cheapest plumber, but I'm going to charge you more to come back later and fix it.
Sure. Sure.
We've talked about that. When is the last time you turned on Facebook and pulled out a credit card because you wanted to buy something? It doesn't happen.
No.
What kind of information do you share? Quality and materials and labor and stuff like that.
Sure.
What do you share to let people know you really do know what you're talking about?
The biggest thing we do is simply answer. It's Marcus Sheridan's They Ask You Answer. Your customers will tell you the information that they would love to learn. It's your obligation to give that information back to them.
Yes, it is.
Too many times in the past, companies have kept that information hidden. They've kept it to themselves, and it's really, well, if you'd like that information, I'd be glad to set up a sales appointment. I would love to have someone come out to you and give you all this information with the understanding that it is a sales pitch.
Absolutely.
So the shift of I will give all my information freely. I will answer all of your questions. I will show you how to do it, which you do an amazing job at.
I love it.
It only breeds trust. My customers, when I knock on the door, say, you're the guy I've seen on the videos.
Yes.
You're the guy. And when we go into product details, and I say, we're a little bit different than most because we use these materials with this labor, and they say, oh yeah, I did see that video. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Yeah.
Yes.
So already the customer feels comfortable enough with me to have that conversation. They know the products I'm going to offer, and they're comfortable with those before I even knocked on the door. They've come to all their own conclusions without me trying to sell them anything. I just give them all the information.
I love that. Now, Bernie, when I was at this event a year ago, I went to the Gary Vee lunch.
I was there.
Okay.
Yep.
And I sat up front at a table, and the gentleman sitting next to me was from the Discovery Channel. And he handed me a card, and we talked for a minute. And same thing. I said, why are you at a social media event? He said, because the views on social media have actually passed the views on public TV now.
Yes.
So I'm here to start learning what I need to do to roll over into that. So you're from the other side. Let me ask you this. If Joe and I just walked up to you now and said, hey, look, I'm wanting to do social media, what could you do us as tradespeople to do something better or different than other people are doing?
First of all, I don't even think there's an answer for that, to be honest with you, because the first thing is be authentic.
Absolutely.
And look, what is TV, my side, what do they try to do?
It's acting.
Make it seem real.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's not real.
Right.
I mean, it's scripted. And I am not, I understand my industry pretty well. I understand what it does good and what it does bad. When the only game in town was doing a TV, a curated TV commercial, that was the only game.
Sure.
There's a better game now.
Yes.
And I see a marriage of higher end and really a more emotional piece, because I think the curated video or content can reach you more emotionally in a constructed way. I'll just give you an example. What I would say in your space, a girl getting ready for the prom, right? And now the sink doesn't work. It's really important that you show up, you send somebody in, you save the day. That's a really emotional piece that a lot of people could relate to, right? But you doing that video that gets 100,000 hits on how to check your pipe or clean your drain, I don't even know what it would be, is going to be what gets you the status of the trusted individual much quicker than that. I mean, they understand why you're important in this space by the other space. So that's how I would look at it from that way.
And it's really funny you mention that, because my best performing video is how to stop a running toilet guaranteed.
Yeah.
Now, that's a problem that everybody has.
Right.
And I mean, you may not have it today, and it's something Shalene Johnson talked about a while ago. I know Instagram has a thing now where if you're like, hey, I want to save that. Well, the good thing about YouTube is we can go look it up, click on it, and say, okay, there it is. And if you know what to search for. Now, what I like though, and I've had people ask me all the time, well, when do I get people to buy from me? When do I get their email address? When do I get this? When do I get that? It's like, wait, that's not what I make videos for.
Yeah.
I want to become their trusted advisor. I want to become the brand authority to where when somebody has a plumbing problem, they think Roger.
Right.
And it's like, you know what? I want to go find what Roger's doing. So say that I wasn't in social media yet. Say Joe wasn't. And we just sat down and said, man, we're thinking about trying something new. What would you tell us? And you're on different areas of social media than I am. What would you say to somebody just starting out? How would they get going?
You know, the thing that I did, and I think the big difference between us is that I am in such a narrow space. First of all, I'm in the media production space, which is no one even knows anybody in the media production space for the most part. I mean, here,
Absolutely.
in that. Within my media production space, lighting is really voodoo black magic. That is like the producers don't know how to do, the directors don't know, they know what they like, but they don't know how to achieve, right?
Yes.
So I need to talk to that. What I would say, and this is how I've approached it, right or wrong, but this is how I approach it, talk directly to my community.
Sure.
Find them, hear their stories. I have every Friday I do a Bernie's Apple Box on Apple Box Network, and I talk to different makeup artists, DPs, choreographers, anybody. And what I want to hear first is their story. How did you find this industry? How did you get into it? And how did you become successful at whatever level they're at, you know? And I don't do stars. I don't do big names. I do the guy who's making his living every day. Sure. That is what I would say to you. Talk to the community. Talk to your... Here's the thing. I have other rental guys in my space. I have other rental people who are renting, doing this exact same thing, and I talk to them because I believe in a model of co-opetition, and that's you as a leader, both of you guys in your space as a leader, that is what you are. You're by you defining what the question is, you own the answer.
So Joe, I know, but how did you get into the fencing business?
So we're a third generation family owned business. So I didn't have a choice in the matter. Yeah, it was my granddad and his brother-in-law founded the company in 1955. My dad came along. He didn't have a choice either. He was a fence guy the day he was born. And so at an early age, he came up through the fence business, and I followed straight in the footsteps.
That's pretty cool. A friend of mine got me into it. I was a restaurant manager. I was 16 years old. I'd quit high school. And we were working one night, him and I, and he looks at me and says, so are you going to be a restaurant manager forever? I'm like, dude, I'm 16 years old managing a restaurant. My life is amazing. And he said, so what happens when you get fired? Who's going to hire a 16-year-old manager? And I'm like, wow, you know what? I never really thought about it like that. And he told me about his 3 older brothers and his dad, who were all plumbers, and made a great living. And it wasn't much later that I either got fired or left or whatever happened. I probably got fired, me being honest. But I talked to one of his brothers and I got a job plumbing, and I mean, I loved it. And I enjoyed building things, but I also found out that I needed to get my high school diploma. So I actually went back to school, graduated with my class, and became a plumber. And I've tried a lot of other things away, but I got back into it. And the thing is I love what I do. Sure. And you know, the passion behind, and I've talked to you about it. I understand it's a mastery skill. It's not just, hey, I'm just going to build a fence.
Sure.
And you know, my thing is, my channel has turned into, I have more plumbers and people wanting to get into plumbing, watching my videos now than I do homeowners.
Sure.
But I still have the homeowner that wants to learn to fix things. Is getting into fencing a great career choice for somebody growing up? I mean, it's doing well for you, I know.
Absolutely. So our fields aren't all that dissimilar in that we can see the end result. Mm-hmm. If the scene is lit really well with the right equipment, that's tangible. You can see that. Yep. In plumbing, if you set the fixture exactly right, or if you correct the plumbing problem, you can see instantaneous results.
Absolutely.
I love that about fence. At the end of the day, if we've done a stellar job, we can take a step back with the customer and say, wow, this is a great end result. I did this. You know, we put signs on all our work, and my guys take pride in driving through town, seeing our signs and go, I did that. You know, that's something I did.
And I get that. I still drive down the road, and you know, my wife laughs at me, and she's probably watching this. It's like, oh my God, do you know I built that? She's like, yeah, you've only told me 50 times. It's like this week or last week. So, you know, I do. I completely understand that. Randy, how did you get into what you do? What made you get into?
It's about the most backwards thing you could ever figure. Most people in my industry love movies at a very early age, and we all like movies.
Absolutely.
I grew up like
You bet.
Tarzan movie. That was awesome. I worked in an entirely different business in Washington. I was a Beal import, not just imports. We would get 10,000 cars on a ship. They would drive for like Mitsubishi, Mazda, something like that, and I processed those. So I had 10,000 cars that all had to go on separate rail cars to separate dealers. So my entire life was hiring people, scaling labor, following VIN numbers, making sure parts were in, very highly organized, you know. And then they bought a company in Los Angeles. I moved down here, worked there for a couple of years, and they were building an Isuzu plant back in Indiana, and they were going to transfer me back there. Well, I just got off the farm and came to LA 2 years before.
There you go.
Yeah, I wasn't excited about Indiana. I'm sorry. I'm sure it's a very nice place, but you know, so I turned them down. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I looked at Los Angeles, and you know, you're feeling that energy, you're feeling that opportunity everywhere. And I had a buddy who just graduated from AFI, you know, and he was a DP, and he got me a job as a $50 a day PA at 40 years old. So here I am, 40. You know, I mean, I was 10 years older than everybody on set, you know, and I came out, and of course, with my highly organized brain, I came out, okay, this is going to happen here, there, and then we get it all together, boom, we produce the product, and we ship it out the door, right? And so I'm waiting around, you know, put up a few lights, help this, get coffee, do whatever, and I'm like, when's the thing getting started, you know? And somebody comes, holds a shirt in front of the camera, and it comes back, oh, y'all can change this one. And we're waiting another half hour. I thought, boy, this thing better get rolling. And the director goes, okay, I think we're ready to shoot. You know, it was just like, I don't believe this is an entirely different thing. So I was absolutely fascinated by it. And at 40 years old, became a PA.
That's pretty cool.
And went out and did it. And then I progressed and did that. Within about 8 years, I was the biggest grip and lighting owner south of Los Angeles.
Wow. 8 years.
8 years, yeah. It took me about that amount of time. I was 48 then. At 50, I officially started my company and knocked it out. Yeah.
So when you come to an event like this, tell me this: what's been your biggest takeaway at this event so far?
You know, there's been a lot of them. You know, there's been a good amount. And this comes from my background, worrying about production. Thing that sells, the thing that's the truth, the goal is that authenticity.
You bet.
That is from the soul. You know, and even if your brain is, my brain fights me. You know, it's going. Yeah, say that, do that. You know, I go, how's that going to help me? How's that?
Yeah.
You know, I do that all the time, and I always have been giving out to authenticity. You know, because I think it's the wrong argument that we're asking us, or I ask myself, in that, you know, it's authenticity, it's truth. It's like truth to power almost, you know? Absolutely. It's like, be yourself, be honest.
And you know, we heard that this morning. Joe and I both were in Salma Jeffrey's session, and she's very good, and she's very good about, you know, teaching people how she does things and what she does. And before that, though, what's your takeaway so far?
Sure. Well, my takeaway is really similar, and we heard it this morning, that 75% is done.
And I wasn't going to go there.
Yeah, but that's my absolute takeaway. You know, 75% is done, and you're moving on. You're patting yourself on the back, and you're calling it done and sent. You know, I think a lot of times, too many times, we get wrapped up in, you know, perfection.
Oh.
If this color is tweaked a little bit more, or ooh, I mispronounced this word, so let me re-record it, and we get wrapped up in that too much. You know, 75% is done, and honestly, Roger, so I do a lot of live. You do a lot of live as well. Obviously, we're doing live right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's why I love live.
Yeah.
Is because when it's done, it's sent. It's sending
on. It's gone.
as you're doing it.
And that's one thing that they talked about last year, which was great, is, you know, produce your content to publish, not for perfection.
Yeah.
And that was something she talked about this morning, and that's really great. Bernie, if people want to find you on social media or connect with you, how can they do that?
On Facebook, I have my sales site is onsetlighting.com.
Okay.
That's one. And my rental business is berniesgripandlighting.com.
Cool.
So that's two things.
Good.
On Facebook, I have Onset Lighting, Bernie's Grip and Lighting, and well, I've got to remember them here. Onset Lighting, Bernie's Grip Lighting, and Applebox Network, where I do the live 1 hour show every week. You know, and LinkedIn, I'm on LinkedIn. YouTube, I'm on YouTube as Onset Lighting.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Sure. Joe, social media, where can people find you?
Joe Everest everywhere. Everest spelled just like the mountain. You know, Ozark Fence is my fencing company that we've been producing a lot of content on, where we're answering questions. We do a Facebook Live every Friday where it's simply Ask a Fence Guy Friday. So for fencing questions, Ozark Fence is a great resource. For me personally, it's Joe Everest everywhere.
I like that. And those of y'all that know me know you can find me on LinkedIn, Roger Wakefield. God, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, I'm everywhere else. Guys, check these people out and see what they're doing. If you stumbled into here and this is the first time that you've seen me, look around the channel, look at some of the videos we've got. We talk about plumbing. And man, I'm really good at replying to comments and things like that. Now here lately I hadn't, because the last 4 weeks I've been tied up for 3 of them out of town. But man, I love communicating with y'all, I love talking to y'all, and I love what we do. So please check these guys out. And again, thanks to Cinemaker for this. This is a great set. And man, I'm loving this app. Do me a favor. Let me know what you like about this. I mean, this is really a neat little presentation. I like the way this was put together. So Gary, thank you very much. Absolutely. This has been fun. So check it out. Like it, share it, tell people about it, and if you hadn't done it yet, subscribe. I'm Roger Wakefield, Lead AP, the expert plumber, and I'll see you on the next video if you don't get flushed.
That was great.